Every available unit in the city needs to get here now. All units hold a perimeter. 315, hold a perimeter. We're under fire. We're under fire. He's got an automatic weapon. He's firing out of the front of the synagogue. 315 base. We are pinned down by gunfire.
4 officers were wounded in that gunfire, 2 of them critically.
He's firing out of the front of the building with an automatic weapon.
I can't say enough about the actions of the Pittsburgh police.
Watching those officers run into the danger was unbelievable.
They ran toward gunfire to keep people safe.
They took bullets to save other people's lives.
Had it not been for the quick and heroic response, this would have been much worse.
Jerry was a very, very special man.
Dr. Jerry Rabinowitz performed the utmost selfless act by rushing in to save his fellow congregants.
He brought a lot of happiness to a lot of people.
Please welcome AJC Executive Council members Kim Pimley and Richard Berkman.
On October 27th, 2018, our worst fears were realized as the deadliest anti-Semitic attack on American soil was perpetrated at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. There's no way to adequately express our grief over this deep wound to our people and our country, or to pay sufficient tribute to the legacies of those lost that day. Nevertheless, as a native of Pittsburgh and its Squirrel Hill area where I grew up, I am especially humbled and honored to present this year's AJC Moral Courage Award to the Pittsburgh Department of Public Safety first responders whose bravery and selfishness prevented an even greater catastrophe. It's impossible to know how many more people might have lost their lives were it not for the first responders who answered the call on that Shabbat morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as we express our gratitude to police officers Michael Smidga and Sean Stumpf from the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police, along with Assistant Chief Mark Pinchalk and District Chief Justin Sypolt of the Pittsburgh Bureau of Emergency Medical Services, representing the first responders of the Pittsburgh Department of Public Safety, recipients of the AJC 2019 Moral Courage Award.
Thank you. My name is Mark Pinchalk. I'm the Assistant Chief of the Bureau of Emergency Medical Services. And on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh Department of Public Safety, Bureaus of Police, and EMS, we want to give you our gratitude for honoring us by having us here today. Active threat response is something we've been training for a couple years before the incident. And I always said, teaching our joint class with our police and other public safety partners, we're training something that's probably never going to happen here, but it's going to make us better at what we do day to day and make us better at taking care of patients who suffer violent injuries. And then the morning of that incident, hearing a very calm call come over the dispatch radio for an active shooter at the Tree of Life was very surreal for us. Everyone engaged and executed that plan as we had trained, and we're proud of the lives that we saved, but we mourn the many that were already lost by the time that call came in. So for public safety, for us to respond to these incidents, we're always reacting. And the sad reality is that by the time we get the 911 call, a number of lives have already been lost, and we have no chance to save them. So it's our hope moving into the future through organizations such as yourself that as a united country, we can create a legal, political, social, and moral climate that these attacks don't happen anymore and we don't lose any more lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uvacharta b'chaim, choose life. The Torah says, set before us our life and prosperity, death and adversity, and it bids us to choose life. In the face of death and adversity, in the face of unspeakable evil, Dr. Jerry Rabinowitz chose life. He was a member of Pittsburgh's vibrant Jewish community and a practicing physician. And through the carnage of the shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue, Dr. Rabinowitz tried to help and to protect and to save innocent lives. Until the moment of his own death, he chose life. We stand in awe of this heroic response to evil and are inspired by Jerry's courage and resolve. Jews around the world mourn for Jerry and the other 10 shooting victims and offer comfort for the endless grief of their families. Dr. Rabinowitz is survived by his wife, Mary, who is in Israel, and whose brother, Sam Kramer, is here to accept Jerry's award on behalf of the family. To you, Sam, your sister Mary, and the Rabinowitz family, please know that we mourn with you this heroic and selfless man who chose life. May Jerry's memory be for a blessing and continue to inspire and touch fellow Jews the world over. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise in memory of the late Dr. Jerry Rabinowitz, recipient of the 2019 AJC Moral Courage Award.
Thank you. On behalf of my sister and our entire family, I want to thank AJC for honoring the memory of my brother-in-law, Jerry Rabinowitz, with the Moral Courage Award. Jerry's moral compass, his compassion, his bravery were not just evident in the last moments of his life, but throughout it. Many of you have heard or read stories of Jerry's personal and professional qualities. The tragedy of Jerry's murder has been national news, and it's made our mourning of his passing more public than we would have chosen. But it's also meant that many who did not know Jerry have heard stories of his compassion. Jerry was one of the first doctors in Pittsburgh to treat patients with AIDS before the disease even had a name. He touched the lives of those patients, literally by not wearing gloves when other doctors insisted. He made sure that they knew that he and the medicine were there for them. He was a highly credentialed physician who chose family practice over a specialization and often treated several generations in a family. Jerry's patients' tributes to his care, concern, and compassion are a legacy that any doctor would be proud of. But I wanted to take a moment to speak of the Jerry that I knew as a member of our family. Jerry came into our family over 20 years ago. It was apparent to all of us right away that he was a fundamentally decent, warm, selfless, and loving person, a person deserving to be married to my sister Mary. And in getting to know Jerry's mom, Sally, his brother Bill, and Bill's family, it was clear that Jerry's wonderful qualities were a Rabinowitz family trait. I hold on to great memories of Jerry, his devotion to my sister, his acquiescing to her adopting yet another cat in the house, his recitation of the 4 questions, the Vier Kashes in Yiddish at our family Seder every year, and of course, his trademark bow ties and hearty laugh. But the one memory that really sticks out for me is his care for my parents. As my folks got older, travel to family simchas, weddings, bar mitzvahs, graduations became more difficult. And Jerry was always there, taking the flights with them, driving them all over creation, pushing the wheelchair when walking became too much. Jerry could always be counted on and never had to be asked. He even did this on trips to Israel so my parents could attend the weddings of their grandchildren and the births of their great-grandchildren. October 27, 2018 was a terrible day. My wife and I were here in D.C. when we heard about the shooting at Tree of Life. It took so long to hear any news that it was only after we landed back in Chicago that we learned Jerry had perished in the attack. The stories immediately emerged that Jerry, who was a weekly regular at his congregation Dor Chadash's Torah study, had run toward the sound of gunfire in the shul. It was the kind of act that the first responders from Pittsburgh, or true heroes, are called on to do every day to keep the community safe. I admit that my first thought was, Jerry, how could you do this? You have to be there for my sister, and you ran toward the gunfire? But I quickly realized it was the only thing that Jerry could have done. It was in his nature. He was a healer, and there were people who may have been hurt. Jerry was a past president of the Dor Chadash congregation and a regular at Shabbat services. He was known to always stand when the mourner's Kaddish was recited. He had seen so many patients in his community die with no one to say Kaddish for them that he took on this mitzvah. More evidence that he cared not only for the body, but also for the soul. I now stand when the mourner's Kaddish is recited as my tribute to Jerry. When members of my congregation in Chicago ask, I reassure them that my parents, who are in their 90s, are still with us. And I tell them about Jerry's custom, and they understand. Thank you for recognizing Jerry's character with this award and affirming what my family have always known about him. Thank you.